Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, a narcoleptic comedian, and this is a podcast where I interview people in my bed and we talk about sleep, comedy, and relationships. I'm happy to be part of the Laugh Factory podcast network. For my 55th episode, I had Charna Halpern in my bed. Charna is the co-founder of IO Theater, which is formerly Improv Olympic. And she and I talked about so many awesome things. We talked about the history of IO and working with Del Close and other big names like Amy Poehler and Tina Fey when they just started out. We also talked about Del Close haunting her in her dreams, which is fascinating. She even brought her dog to the podcast. Her adorable dog Violet was in bed with us and behaved super well, by the way. You can follow Charna on Twitter at Charna Halpern and check out the IO Theater's many awesome shows. One of my faves is Improv Shakespeare. She's also got a couple books about improv, truth and comedy, written by her and Del Close, as well as art by committee. For more information about IO, you can go to ioimprov.com. You can catch me in a couple upcoming shows. On April 3rd and every Monday from now until it ends, I'm in PIOV, which is at the IO Theater at Jason Chin Cabaret at 7 p.m. This is a comedy show that's social commentary. It's like a combination of sketch, monologues, interviews, inspired by current events, and directed by Michael McCarthy. You can also catch me on April 4th at Secrets, Lies, and Alibis. This podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com to get a free audiobook of your choice. This week, I'd like to recommend Yes, Please by Amy Poehler. Again, that's audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. To find out more about the show, please go to sleepingwithsarah.com and be sure to subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. And follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Well, let's get started with the show. Welcome to Sleeping with Sarah. I'm Sarah Albritton, and I'm here with my guest, Charna Halpern.
Hi.
And her dog, Violet.
This is Violet.
How'd you sleep last night, Charna?
Very good. I always sleep good. I have a sleep number bed.
Oh, nice.
So it's just the best. And I also have a bed that can go up and down, and the feet can go up and down. So I'm just like, it's like I decided it's like buying a car.
Yeah.
You're going to have it for a long time. And the sleep number bed I always have. So I really went all out for that one.
Well, that's good. I think sleep's important, you know?
It is. It's very important.
Yeah.
Especially when you're stressed. Like when I was building the IO, the new IO, I was crying all the time.
Oh.
Every time the phone rang, it was like another $10,000, another $50,000. So I would go home, I would just lay in a fetal position and get in my bed, and it was the only time I felt good was when I was in that bed, under the covers. That bed saved my life.
Saved you from going crazy with the build.
Did.
Well, it turned out fantastic.
Thank you.
It's such a great space, and even having that event space area is really cool too.
It's really cool. And this time, right now, for a few weeks, there's a escape room in that event space. I rented it out.
How did I not know that?
It just started. I know. I want to do it too. It's going to be fun.
Is it an improv theme escape room?
No, it's not. It's just some company that they built this escape room, and they're renting the place for 6 weeks, and they do escape room stuff there at night. And then I got a call from another escape room that wants to do it there after that. So I'm like, yes, because it's great for teams, I think, to go and work as a team and get out of the escape room.
I've never done one of those, but I've wanted to.
Me too. I might do the one with the zombies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because if you get touched by the zombie, then you're dead, right?
And I thought that'd be more fun to have to figure out some puzzle and have a zombie coming after you. I don't know. I like that stuff.
That's really cool. I know you told me previously that you have some interesting dreams.
Yeah. I've had some psychic dreams. I think. Well, I don't know if they're psychic dreams or not. I prefer to believe they are. Dreams about Del. When Del died.
Yeah.
I had some interesting dreams. First of all, I always wonder, as I'm sure everyone does, about life after death and if there's something else. And so when Del was on his deathbed, I told him to come back if he can in any way. And he said he would. And he's a pretty powerful guy. So I figured if there's a way, he will do it. And after the first few days he was dead, I had a dream that I was checking my voicemail. And it was Del. She looking at the mic. Don't let the mic lie. And Del said, hello, this is me. It was totally Del's voice. I'm still here. I guess there's a delay and a hold up, and we get to say goodbye to people in this time. And he said, I see you at the theater. And I know everything that's going on, and, I still have my cough, so it must be psychological, because we had him cremated, And he laughed and he was like, all right, well, I know you know this is me, but I want you to know that this is real, Anon. So I hung up and he hung up, and then I woke up and I thought, well, sure, it could just be a dream, but what if that's how they contact you? I didn't want to piss him off and say, oh, it's just a dream, because he might go, well, geez, she told me to come back. What does she want me to do? Mm-hmm. And then I had a few others after that where he was in a car with me, and I had to drive him to this building. It was like a motel with a circle drive. And he would tell me I couldn't come in. I had to let him off here, and I would say goodbye to him, and I'd be very sad because we knew he was dead.
Yeah.
And then in another dream, the same thing, that same circle drive, they said you can come in today. So I went in, and it was this awful place. It was like men walking around, like a YMCA, with men walking around in towels, and he was in a room with 3 beds. Don't jump, Vi. And you want to go down? Excuse me.
That's okay. You can go down, explore.
And I said, this is where you are? And he said the same thing to me. He goes, no, it's just temporary. There's a hold up, and we get to stay here and say goodbye to people. So I said, oh, okay. And then he took me outside, and he showed me how beautiful it was. It was like, it looked like Earth, except everything was real shiny and glossy. So the trees were black and shiny against this very weird sky. So it was really, he said, isn't this cool? And I said, yeah, it is. And then I hugged him goodbye and I left. Now, months later, Howard Johnson, he wrote the book that we sell at Funniest One in the Room.
Yep.
Funniest Person in the Room. His wife, who I really don't know, but she was friends with Del, he said, my wife wanted me to tell you something because Del asked her in a dream to tell you this. So I said, what? And she got on the phone and she said, I had a dream that was with Del. And I was at this terrible place. It was like a motel. And he said, and I said to him, this is where you are? And he said, I'm only here temporarily to say goodbye to people. And he said, I want you to do me a favor. Please tell Charna you saw me here.
So somebody else had the same.
Mm-hmm. And I told him I clicked that dream before she even told me the dream. So Howard and I and my clique and this woman all knew that I've had this dream before. Mm-hmm. And she had this dream. And I asked her about the place. She saw a circle drive. She said men were walking around. It was just all men. It was just this horrible, it looked like a motel. So, I kind of believe that maybe this is how they communicate with you, because he gave me that message,
That's really interesting. I think dreams are really powerful.
I do too.
Now, I remember that you mentioned that Howard Johnson wrote the book, The Funniest One in the Room. Isn't that one of Del's last lines? Or last?
I'm tired of being the funniest person in the room was his last line when he got his morphine on his deathbed. And he was still making jokes because, he's had so many drugs and so much morphine and heroin that it didn't affect him the way they expected it to. In fact, they had to keep turning up the machine. So he was, usually they're just out. She said, even before they put the drip in, they gave him a shot. And he was just like, I'm not feeling anything and I know what I'm supposed to be feeling. And they were like, Jesus, he's had enough to kill a horse already. So, it's because he was so immune to that stuff already. So, yeah, he was getting high and he was like, yeah, finally, I'm tired of being the funniest person in the room. And then he just kind of closed his eyes. And we were just like, can you believe that is the last line? He was always saying amazing things. And people were like, oh, people aren't going to believe this. This is his last line. I was like, no, it's amazing. It was amazing.
You probably planned it a little bit. You probably thought about it, maybe.
Maybe, but he was just amazing. I mean, when you think about it again, I have a fear of death. I'm sure everyone does. Mm-hmm. But that this man literally put himself down. I mean, they told him, once you get this morphine trip, you're not going to come back. And he was like, I'm ready. And he was just so brave. I was scared to death. Yeah. I was fighting with him even that day, saying, are you sure you just don't want to get high? Because this is it. You don't really have to die if you don't want to. And he's like, I want it. And I was just like, I was just so angry. It was a very scary thing for me, but he did it. And he did it gracefully and bravely. That was pretty impressive.
And I know, didn't he say in his will he wanted to donate his skull so he'd always be in Hamlet?
He would always be working.
Right? Was that true?
York, or he'd be happy to be a skull in the desert. He didn't care. He just wanted to keep working, and he wanted credit in the program. And so he left that to me to get his skull prepared. And I don't know if you know the whole story. I can come clean with everything. But on his deathbed, he said to me, make that skull thing happen any way you can. And we even went through, we did it in the will. And in order to do something like that, the person has to accept it. So the lawyer actually called Bob Falls, and Bob said, yeah, sure, I'll accept it. And the lawyer was just like, this is insane. He just couldn't believe it. So Del said, make it happen any way you can. And after he died, I called all these different places, and no one would do it. They were like, no, we get grants. There's a fine line between art and science, so we're just not going to decapitate this man and prepare a skull. And I kept trying, and after a few days, the morgue called me and said, you got to take this body out of the morgue. So I was very depressed. I didn't know what to do, and I sent him to the cremation. And then I found this place, actually Mick Napier found it for me, where they sell skulls and bodies, and skeletons to med schools. Mm-hmm. So my sister Bonnie and I went shopping, and it's like a row of skulls on this. It's like these metal shelves, and there's skulls, and so I'm like, well, this could be Del. This this could look like Del. Small head, that's that Del. And we shopped, and then I bought this skull, and then when I got home, I realized the skull had teeth, and Del had dentures. Everyone knew that because he used to take them out to horrify students. Oh yeah. So I freaked out. So my sister Bonnie had to pull the teeth because I was too grossed out. So she actually had to pull the teeth from the skull, and so I also read up on this, and it takes months and months to prepare a skull. So I put it in a pantry in my house and waited for about 4 or 5 months. And then I finally announced that it was ready. Now, and then I was going to have this big affair to present the skull at the I.O. to Bob Falls. Now, all these reporters were calling me saying, who did it? Who did the skull for you? And I was like, well, I used the line from one of those people that turned me down, saying, they could lose their grant, and I promised I wouldn't tell. So I really can't tell. Now, here's where I almost got tripped up. I'm not good at lying, so which is why I try not to ever do it. The crematorium called me, and they said, we want you to know that reporters called to ask us if the body came with a head on it. So I was like, oh, I'm done. It's over. And they said, oh, no, we want you to know we lied. Oh. I said, you did? They said, yes, because A, you're our client, and B, we think you're doing a wonderful thing. Oh. This was this man's deathbed wish. And it's a profound wish, and we are on your side. So I got away with it. Oh. Because all the reporters were told, yeah, he had no head. So I presented the skull in a beautiful lucite box on a red velvet piece of material, and Bob Falls opened it. And by the way, there were so many reporters, it looked like the presidential news conference. There were just all those mics on the stage. You've seen that. Yeah. It was amazing. The place was packed with people from every news organization from around the world. So Bob Falls took it, and he took the skull out, and he did the monologue. Alas, poor Del. I knew him, Mauricio. And I cried. I just couldn't believe it. So everything was wonderful. Del's wish came true and everything. And then years later, some jerk reporter brought some expert to look at the skull at the Goodman, and they found that there was a screw. Apparently it had an autopsy. Again, I'm not good at lying, so I try not to do it. And the screw was 65 years old. So I got caught. So everyone was coming at me, and I thought everyone's going to hate me. They're going to think I was scamming people, and I wasn't. I was just, Del taught us to say yes to each other's ideas and to make things happen, to take each other's ideas and make them work. And that was what I was doing for him. So I thought people were going to hate me, and I was hiding. I mean, Carol Marin was at my door, and I was hiding. I was not answering the door. I was like, people are going to hate me. Well, then I got a call from the New Yorker, and it was a man who did a story with me a long time ago about something else. And I had a friend answering the phone because I wasn't even answering the phone. He said, please let Charna know I want to tell the story. I know why she did it. Mm. And so I got on the phone with him. He said, I know you did this out of love. Let me tell you a story. So he told the truth. And then we had another press conference with Bob Falls. And the reporter, because Bob didn't know. No one knew. I told no one. Yeah. And they said to Bob, are you mad at Charna? And Bob Falls grabbed me and gave me this huge kiss on my lips. And then he said, as far as I'm concerned, it is the skull of Del Close on the shelf at the Goodman Theater.
Oh, that's so sweet. So he still got his wish, He got his wish. And that's a fantastic, the amount of work to do that, that's fantastic. I really believe that, that you should follow whoever's wish, Of
course. It was a beautiful wish. It was a cool wish. Why would somebody want to screw that up? Why would anybody screw that up?
It's such a cool wish. That is something I do think that IO does very well is memorializing people in the way that they want to.
Exactly.
I was lucky enough to be in the room, and I don't mean to dwell on that thing, but I was lucky, because Jason Chim was one of my teachers, and I was lucky enough to be in the room for when they did the roast, and I just thought that was such a great, fantastic.
You didn't tell me I was going to be crying.
I'm sorry.
But yes.
I'm sorry.
It was. And that's what Jason wanted. Even his mother said, because he used to say that, I mean, he didn't know he was going to die, but he'd say, if I die, I want a roast.
Yeah.
I don't want this, I want a roast. And his mother said that, give it to him. Give it to him good, because that's what he would want. I mean, he did, you know.
It was the best kind, because you had people laughing, and I know some people were also a little emotional, but they would, I'd see, Adel or somebody go off stage, and like, compose themselves and then come back, but the room was filled with laughter, and it was a great way to commemorate his memory, and I thought that was just done so incredibly well, and I was just like, that's how you remember somebody,
Exactly. In fact, I was supposed to go first, and right when we were ready to start, I said, I don't think I could go first. Just let other people go. When people start laughing, I'll be okay, and then I'll be able to go, but I can't go first. So, but then I was able to do it. Yeah, that was so, was even harder for me. Like, Del and I were prepared for a year, and it was still hard. It's still hard. I still miss Del. I mean, my life was so much more fun with him. But Jason, I still can't get over it. I mean, I think just even last week, I was getting dressed, and I was like, holy shit, Jason's gone. I just can't believe it. He was everything. He was my right-hand man. It's like, people ask me questions, and they'll do stories and interviews. I'm like, if I didn't know something, I could go, can I call you right back? And I would call Jason, and he knew everything. He was like my living archive, and I'm just so lost without him.
He was so awesome. When I first started IO, I was still in college, and I took summer classes, and then I went back to school at NIU, which is an hour and a half away, and I would drive in for Sunday classes, and I looked at my schedule wrong. I accidentally arrived in the room at 12 p.m. instead of 3 p.m. for class. And it was Jason Chen's level 5 class. I was supposed to take like a level 2 class or something. And he said, well, you can sit in, and just, because you're here for, you're here for 3 hours. You could sit in, and he let me sit in and play with the people. And he was just so nice. And that was just
He was the ambassador for all new kids. Yeah. If there was somebody who just felt out of it and he would bring them in. Yeah. I used to invite him to come with me, with my family for Christmas. And he'd say, oh, no. I'm going to have Christmas dinner at my place for all the people who have nowhere to go. That's what he always did. And he would make dinner for all the students who were like, for all the wayward people who had nowhere to go. That's what he did. And he would always bring people in. And when he would do his shows, he would just always invite the new kids to be in the show with some older kids so that everyone would start to feel part of the community. He was always doing that stuff,
Yeah. I think that's really great.
I know. There's nobody like him. And, I wish he was here now, because so many people sometimes get mad at things, so many stupid things, and get angry. And I think that he'd be able to just hit him upside the head and go, what are you thinking? Remember, it's like he said, this is the unicorn sanctuary. This is such a safe, wonderful place. There's nothing like this. You should just enjoy your time here. Because pretty soon you're going to be spit out in the real world, and you're going to realize, why did I waste my time arguing and fighting? This is such a happy place, It
is. You started it, 30 plus years?
38 years.
38 years ago. That's so crazy how much it's grown. And
you have no idea, I worked so hard. I mean, I started out of my kitchen. I was a one-woman operation. I ate brown rice at night because I couldn't afford to. My dog was eating better than me. I've always had dogs, because I lived on the block of a prime rib place. And so they would always save him bones and meat. Oh. And so at night, I'd be eating brown rice, and my dog would be eating prime rib. And I'd be like, something's very wrong here. What's going on? But I struggled. We were thrown out of 14 different places. I used to do the training center, do all the books, of course. I would do the box office, and then I would MC the shows. And if people came in while I was on stage, I'd say, I'll get you in a little bit. Just go get a seat, and take their money later, because I did everything.
So you were performing
I was also a performer. Yeah. Okay. That's why I did it. I didn't do this because I had visions for some great empire and I was going to create stars. I wanted a place to play. Yeah. If you weren't one of the 6 people on main stage at Second City and there wasn't even an ETC, then you were performing.
And they probably didn't have those other codes or any of that stuff.
Nothing like that. Yeah. It was very small. It was just very, they had a touring company. They had a touring company that played on Monday nights. But it just wasn't that big yet. Improv was still very underground, you know? And there was no other place. There was nothing. There was nowhere to go. There wasn't any little theaters or anything. So, I met David Shepard, and I started this little game theater. And, you know, we were playing at Cross Current. First, we started at Second City. Joyce gave me what was now ETC. It was just a little room. There was no set or anything. There was just a little theater in the round. And I taught classes in a little place called the Huron Theater, which is in Piper's Alley. It's nothing like that now. All these places are gone. But that's where I started. And then when I started to get a little bit of a following. Joyce said, now I helped you get started. Now you got to go on your own. And I went to Cross Currents. And but it was very rough. I worked very, very, very hard. I'm still working very hard, you know. So I hate when people complain about these silly, stupid things. I'm like, just about anything.
Yeah.
I want to open. Why are we opening? We should be the headliners. It's like, what? Just be happy. My God. You have no idea how it used to be. You should. I think it's an entitlement thing, or people feel that things are handed to them sometimes. And they are. Things are handed to them too easy. They don't know how hard it used to be.
Or how hard it is to start a theater. Or to get stage time. Like because now we're so fortunate. Chicago has become like a mecca for comedy. And not just improv, but sketch and stand-up. People come to Chicago to learn comedy. Like, that is becoming a very big thing. And
you don't know, it used to be New York.
Yeah.
People used to go to New York to make it. And now it's Chicago.
Now it's like you go, I know people say this a lot. People go to like New York and LA to get famous. People go to Chicago to get good.
That's right. Exactly.
And
to get famous. I mean, Saturday Night Live comes to Chicago.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they do. They have the auditions here. Mm-hmm. And, I know that they pay attention when somebody from Chicago moves out. They kind of pay a bit more attention to them because they...
In LA, the casting directors always say, if you're from IO West, you know, we'll look at you, of course. But if you're from Chicago, IO, then we really give you a second look because we know you took the time to get good.
Yeah. And I think that that's really cool, like, cultivating the talent. And even, like I remember I had, like, 5Bs with Cecily Strong. And, like, then, like, seeing her go and get to where she's gotten. And, like, I think there's just other people that have just, like, really grown and just kind of seeing that. Or I remember seeing, like, Thomas Middleditch or Lauren Lapkus performing regularly, you know, before they went out. And it's really cool to see that. And
Tom Middleditch and TJ Miller used to do a 2-person show at my theater, and no one ever came. They'd be lucky if they got 3 people, and they would promote it, and then they'll go, okay, we're going to do another show. And I go, you poor kids. But they didn't care. They just kept writing and writing and working and working, and that's what people have to do. But you have no idea how many people missed an opportunity to watch these 2 hilarious men. Nobody ever came to their shows. Ever. Oh. And they were so good, and I couldn't believe it.
I remember when Thomas Middleditch used to be in Improv Shakespeare. That's one of my favorite.
He still is out in LA.
He does, because he had this weird, quirky character thing that he would always do, and I felt like, you know, like he would always be like the weird old lady in the woods, or like a fairy that granted a potion. He would always have this crazy weird like character that kind of threw a wrench in the whole thing in a good way. Right. And he and Blaine would always try to one up each other and make each other do crazy things, and that was really fun. I could see how much fun they were having trying to make them. You're gonna read this letter. Oh, the letter is in rhyme, and you have to rhyme this thing.
Right. Yeah, he always would make things difficult for himself. I saw him just a few weeks ago in LA, and he played the bad son, the nerdy son. He always gave himself something crazy to play. But, he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant.
What I do love about improv is that you can play anybody. I feel like with the industry the way it is, feeling like there are only so many roles for women or, different ages. What's so fun about improv is that you can play anything. There's no limitations.
That's right.
And that's one thing I really do love about it. Do you miss performing?
I do. That's why I was really excited. I got this. I haven't auditioned in a really long time, and Marissa said, hey, just try this. This is a character that might be good for you. And I did it, and I nailed it. And I did one take because I didn't think I was going to get it. Mm-hmm. And I got it, and I really got the bug, and she wants me to start auditioning again. I miss performing as far as improv. I just don't hear well enough with hearing aids, You just miss things when you're not facing people. So And it is sad. But, I look at people now and I wonder if I'd even be as good as half the people are right now. I mean, people have gotten so good,
Yeah.
I was good in my day, but that was before. Look how good people are now,
Yeah.
So
I at this point, because I do enjoy writing a lot, so I use improv as a way to write, and then write sketches or write television pilots and that kind of thing, and then I try to write it and make it better.
That's exactly that's what Mike Myers told me and Adam. They just like they either and the people who are writing for shows they improvise off each other in the writing room, and then even themselves they just improvise with themselves. They use these. This is writing on your feet. That's what it is.
And that's one thing I like about it. And I mean, like I do more sketch and stand up now, but I still use improv in all of that.
And you always will. Mm-hmm. You always will.
And so I think that's really cool. And yeah, you've worked with basically everybody in the industry.
And you know what? Thing is, it's the tenets that you also learn in improv, like making each other look good, taking care of each other, saying yes to each other's ideas. People want to work with people like that. That's why they keep throwing down the rope to people from I.O. Like Seth Meyers took his whole team. That's all his people.
Yeah.
Those are I.O. people.
Oh.
He's working with Jenny Hagel. He's working with Amber. He's working with John Lutz. He's working with Connor. These are all I.O. people. And
I think he's doing a great job, especially with the getting more political with that stuff. I think it's great.
But he wants people to work with them. I'll tell you a story that Kevin Dorff, when he was working on Conan, it was with Brian Stack and Brian McCann and John Glazer, all I.O. people again. So Kevin said, "You'd be proud what happened today." And I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, we wrote this bit for Conan and we did it for him during rehearsal." And he said, "It's too close to this movie High Fidelity right now. So can you write something else?" So they went in the studio by the door, off the stage, and they came up in 5 minutes, came up with something brilliant. And Conan said, "My God, how did you guys come up with this so fast?" And he said, "We're an I.O. team. We're fish stick." and what he meant by that is that, no one's going to say, if Brian Stack has an inkling of an idea, they say, "All right, Brian's brilliant. Mm-hmm. If he thinks that's funny, I'm going to add to that." And so then John Glazer will go, "Okay, if McCann and Stack think that's brilliant, I'm going to add to that." And then they each do that. No one says, "No, I want Conan to see my idea." Mm-hmm. So in a matter of minutes, they have this great idea because they all respect each other so much and they love each other. So that's why they want to keep working with people because they know everyone's trained like that at I.O.
And that's also why you get groups like the Katydids.
Right.
And I know Katie Colloton, and she's awesome. And the fact that also they were the first ever cable. I know Netflix had, but the first ever cable ensemble with an ensemble of all women. And things like that. They're producers. They write for it. It's
these are women who were. I directed their first sketch show. I'm proud to say. These were women who were a team. And they got together because they all loved the fact that they had the names Katie. Yeah. And I have to tell you, they even came to me once to say, "We're going to write a show. We're going to go on to be famous together." And I was like, "Okay, that's wonderful. But let me tell you something. It rarely happens like that. Usually people make it themselves. And maybe Kids in the Hall did it. Mm-hmm. But really, just be prepared that it rarely happens." And they're like, "Oh, no. It's going to happen. We're going to do it." And I was like, "Okay. That's wonderful." Because, I love them, and I was hoping they were, and they, God damn it, if they didn't do it.
Well,
and they're so good, aren't they?
They're so good. And that show as teachers is so smart.
So funny.
And so funny and done really well. And, also props to TV Land for taking because they're doing more original content, but for taking a risk out like that, which is really great. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's
and the showrunner is Ian Roberts, who's also from I.O., who's also UCB.
Oh, that's so great.
Which also started at I.O.
And they filmed their web series out here, too, which is cool. And, the stuff with Shrink and all this. So even though, a lot of the industry, there's still some industry here, and most of it's in LA and New York, but, people from Chicago are doing a lot of things.
But it's starting now. I mean, this whole thing with Chicago with PD and Chicago Justice and Chicago Med, this is really exciting. Yeah. So many people are getting work.
But that's why I was excited about Shrink, because Shrink was the first comedy, because we've had all these dramas,
right?
Shameless and all the cop, and Shrink is the first comedy, and I think that's really interesting, and it's yes, comedy, Chicago, it makes sense,
right. It's exciting, it's very exciting. Yeah, I think it's going to happen more and more. I think Chicago is just constantly shining and showing Hollywood, you know what, this is the place. This is where it's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud of that.
And you've lived in Chicago the whole time, so you were never tempted to live in L.A.? No.
Mm-hmm. I love Chicago. I'm born and raised. here. And, you know, I mean, when I go to LA, I have to admit I have a lot of fun because all my friends were out there. Now everyone's 30 years younger than me here. So, you know, I go out there and I'm with Amy Poehler or Adam McKay. I was just there. I had dinner with Adam McKay and Neil Flynn and Ian, who I just talked about.
That's awesome.
You know, those are my friends. So I have a lot of fun when I'm out there. But, and they try to talk me into moving out there. But I really do love Chicago. I don't really like LA.
Yeah. I don't know. When I went out there, I think it was just a nice change of weather, I think. But it is interesting because as you do it more, like with comedy, like even with stand-up, it's like everyone's moving, you know? So if I stayed in Chicago for a couple more years, like all my friends would be like...
Yeah, if you go to LA, listen, if you go to IO West, you walk in and you know everyone. So that's the good thing. That's why I started IO West, because all my top people were out there. Ian Roberts, Neil Flynn, Keckner, and they all said to me, Charna, we're all here, your best teachers, your best performers, and we don't get to see each other. We're not working. Open a place, and we'll take care of it. And it was just a no-brainer. You know, I didn't have to do a thing, but just get a place and get a liquor license and open. And Keckner ran things, and they all performed and taught, and it was just growing and growing. So now there is this home away from home that makes it a lot easier for people to go to LA because it used to be scary. Yeah. And now it's not because you've got a home base. Plus, they all help each other because they're all on different levels, so they're all working. So
and that's something
people are giving each other work.
And that's something that Michael McCarthy kind of harps on a lot because I've taken his writing program, which he's fantastic with it, but he talks about how it's your peers that help you get the work and like to keep in touch and to keep, you know, doing that. And I think that that's a big, nice, it's a different thing, like with, in terms of improv versus like a stand-up, you know, like improv has this huge community. Stand-up still has a community, but it's a different dynamic.
They're not helping each other. They're just,
well, we help each other a little bit, but not to the level
that you open for them. But these guys are like, hey, I need writers for this show, or hey, like when Seth got this producer role on Drunk History, all of a sudden it's all IO people, you know.
Well, it's like you want to work with people that are fun, that you like, and that you know you can work well together. And improv like makes you realize that, which is cool.
Exactly. So, and it's the same thing with SNL. They just keep pushing for their friends, you know.
Well, it's
just wonderful.
And is that a thing? Like, do you ever like, I mean, is this a thing that happens? Like, do you ever like tell Lauren, hey, I've got somebody that I think you need to look at? Or is that?
Oh, Lauren? Yeah. All the time. I mean, I even told him about Adam McKay, and I said, you've got to try him. And Farley, when Farley was live, Farley had broken his foot when Lauren was coming to Chicago. And he wasn't even performing. And I said to him, you've got to come back in a few months. You've got to see this guy. You've got to see this guy.
Because he's so physical. I imagine having a broken foot would be awful for him.
Yeah, he couldn't play. He was off his foot. He was in Wisconsin at home. So I said, you got to come back. You got to come back and see this guy. So, you know, he listens to me. You know, he listens to me about a couple things. And more. Like, he used to have a rule that if he saw them once, he didn't need to see them again. Because if he didn't hire him, he's not going to hire him. Excuse me.
Okay.
But we're in bed. And then he also had a rule that same thing if he flew somebody out and they auditioned and then he didn't hire him, that he didn't need to see him again. So I always had to abide by that rule. But then one time he didn't hire Michael O'Brien, who I think was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I thought he was wrong. And so I decided, what's he going to do to me? Fire me? I'm giving him all these great people. He's not going to stop coming. So I decided to put Michael up anyway. And I pretend he did this bit where he was emceeing, but he really wasn't emceeing. It was part of his audition. And he blew Lorne Michaels away. And then he did hire him. So I said to him, Lauren, at the time, so now is my ban lifted? Can I do what I want? And he said, yeah. So, but then I will try to stick people down his throat. And after about 3 or 4 times, he'll say, okay, I don't need to see that person anymore. Then I will listen to him because I don't want to piss him off. But, yeah, he listens to me, but, you know, and then sometimes he'll just hire people who I'm so surprised or not. Like, I mean, like we were talking about Cecily. I don't know if you heard about her story.
No, I don't think I knew her story. I knew, because we had our 5Bs together, and it was a strong class, too, because also, Benda and Ingolsoft, I think she does some stuff with
yeah, she's teaching out now.
Yeah.
iOS.
Yeah, so she was a strong performer as well. It was really cool, but I just remember hearing like not that long after she got SNL, I was like, wow, like that's...
I put Bente up too. I liked her. I think I did. I liked her a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Cecily wasn't going to, I do these auditions for months before Lauren comes. So I decide, after watching hundreds of people, who are the 15 that Lauren is going to see.
And they're solo sketch.
Right.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm doing them now on Monday nights. So after my 3 months was over and I just finished my last night of auditions, I was walking in the old space. I was walking upstairs and I passed the box office and Cecily was my box office manager. And I said, hey, Cecily, you did an audition for me. And she was on the Delta and she was great. And she said, I know, I have some stuff, but I don't think it's ready. It's not fully written yet. And I said, but you're so good. Show me what you have. And she was like, I'm not ready. I said, come upstairs. So she came upstairs and she showed me in a really, really short audition. Like she would just do one little joke as a character and move on. And she said, I have to flesh it out and write more. I said, Cecily, I got to tell you, one of the things that Lauren used to say to me is, once we get the joke, move on. I don't need to see the same thing over and over again. And I really think it's a pretty good audition. It's really short. You can see your little characters. You did a lot of things. I like it. I think we should put you up. And she was like, no, I was scared because then he won't want to see me again if he doesn't like me. And I was like, I really think you're ready. And she got hired. And had I not stopped by the box office, she might still be in the box office today.
That's crazy.
John Lutz was also like one of those turn on the dime things. I was doing improv. This one audition, he was letting me do some improv as well as stand-up. Not stand-up, but sketch. And, I have so many people. I just forgot. I didn't think about certain people who should do the improv. And all the cast was behind the stage. The lights were already out. We were ready for the lights to go on. And John Lutz came up to me and said, please, can I play, Charna? Please, can I play? I feel so ready. And I was like, oh my God, maybe I totally forgot about you. Yes, hurry, go.
And this is when they were improv auditions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he ran behind the stage just as lights came up. And he got hired that night. And it's like, just like that. I mean, and it's also so interesting.
I wonder if that's just like an I also, along with dreams, I believe in instinct too. And so like, I'm very much, if I have a strong instinct about something, even if it's something silly, like take this street home instead of this street, like I always try to follow it. And like, that almost sounds like lots of the last minute, he was like, I have this feeling and I gotta do it.
Yeah. And I'm ready. And I knew he was. It was just somebody I forgot. And so, we both felt that at the moment, like, yes, quick, go. It was just, and he killed it. And he always killed anyway. He was so damn funny.
And could you tell, did you know, that Amy Poehler and Tina Fey would end up to be, where they are?
Yeah. Instantly.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I put those two together.
Yeah.
They didn't even know each other. They were in different classes. I thought, these two are going to work together and they are going to rule the roost. I also knew, by the way, Tina was very shy and frumpy. She wasn't, she would wear overalls all the time.
I've seen some of the old pictures from her book.
Always wore overalls. And I could tell she had a crush on my musical director, Jeff Richmond. And he was putting up a show for me called Hamlet the Melancholy Musical. And he needed an assistant. And I said, I have just the person. She's really smart. And I think she'd be great. She's really organized. And he would go, oh, yes, please. And I said, Tina, would you be Jeff's assistant? She was like, okay. And they fell in love. And I knew that was going to happen. But yes, I knew Tina and Amy. I mean, and there's some people that get hired that I'm surprised because I think, oh, it should be this person, And then sometimes I'm right, too, that person gets fired the very next season. But
or even some people that maybe don't make SNL but end up having a big comedy career anyways. Like Lauren Lapkus is doing really great for herself.
And I always thought she was great. Yeah, it never surprises me. I think my situation is mostly, I can't believe this person isn't making it. I can't believe this person isn't getting work. That's mostly what I experience right now because we have so much talent. And there's, sometimes you just have these idiot suits who are making decisions that just don't see it,
Well, what do you recommend for people like that might feel like they're in that situation? Is it they create their own show? Like, what would you recommend?
Keep creating opportunities for yourself because, first of all, Second City's not the only path. Saturday Night Live is not the only path. There's tons of paths, and many people who've taken different paths are glad they did.
I mean, one of the things I think Thomas Middleditch got well known for is he made a silly video out front of the McDonald's that's not there anymore. Right. Across the street from is a McNugget wrap. It was like a 30-second McNugget wrap, and McDonald's picked it up for a commercial, and then from there on they got
exactly. And he didn't intend to do it. I think that's the thing is you just do the things that you want to do and rise to the top, and people will notice you. And it's like you have a sign up there, just be good.
Be so good they can't ignore you.
Exactly.
It's a Steve Martin.
And that's what you got to do.
Steve Martin quote. That's one of my favorite quotes. I just always try to remember that.
Yeah, I mean, Tina and Amy didn't come to me and say we want to be stars. They just love the work. And they love the work. They were always at the shows. They were working, at the time also, there wasn't a million places, so people weren't doing a million things and becoming masters of, what is it, jack of all trades, master of none. They just focused on I.O. and they got so good that they rose to the top. And then they just started getting noticed. And I think that's what everyone has to do. The same thing with me. I didn't set out to
create
build an empire.
Thing,
I just did what I loved. And this is what happened because I loved it. And I think that's really the clue is just have a passion. Just really love it so much and keep working and people will recognize you.
I think that's great.
And even if you don't get famous, I mean, you just work and doing what you're doing. There are a lot of people who are doing really well for bio, who are just writers who you're not hearing about, but they're working and they're supporting their families and they're having a ball,
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be in a writer, like being in a writer's room with other comedic people and just being in that, creating something that millions of people want. That's insane. That's awesome.
And there's people who are there are people I know who just rewrite scripts. That's all they do. They're not getting famous, but people say, here, punch this up. And they're making $30,000 or $40,000 just to rewrite a script. Wow. And they're making a living, and they're not famous, but they're working in the industry. And eventually, because they're making contacts, they'll say, hey, you know what? I wrote a script. And that's going to happen for them, Adam started that way. Adam was just writing scripts, rewriting scripts.
That's what he does is really great. And I know he does a lot of different tags for all of his jokes, which is really cool. Like alt tags for all the different, I think he shouts them out from what I've read. He'll shout out, hey, say this line. And almost every every punchline in his movies, actually they go through 4 or 5 versions of it. Improv.
And that's why he always has 18 hours of extra.
Yes, exactly.
Because he's shot so much. Neil Flynn even said to me, yeah, he just threw me a bone and gave me a part. He goes, I don't even think that was a real boom mic. I think it was a marshmallow. I think he just put me up there to do stuff. He's just always shooting stuff. He promised me a cameo in one of his next films.
Hey, well, that could help you as you're auditioning some more, and
it'd be fun. I'm happy to just do cameos in my friends' films. I'm okay with that.
Well, that's always fun.
Yeah.
Well, as we're running down the podcast, I know we talked about sleep dreams earlier. What are your dreams for your future? What other things do you?
Let's see. Right now, I'm just happy with where I am. I would like to start auditioning more and doing some more things. Maybe doing little cameos in films. I might write again. I wrote a movie that hopefully will get produced. We're doing a pitch for Adam.
I didn't know that.
Rich Tellerico, who got an Emmy for Key and Peele, he's rewriting it right now. And, because it was a good script, and Adam said it's a B script, but it needs to be an A script. So I felt like I couldn't rewrite it. I would have made it an A script if I could have. So Rich Tellerico's rewriting it, and then we'll pitch it to Adam or some other people and see what happens. So it's a story of me and Del, and it's very exciting.
Oh, that's so cool.
Mostly Del's story seen through my eyes. And it's funny and crazy and scary because Del was all those things, So that's something I'm really looking forward to happening right now.
Well, that's really exciting. Well, good luck with all that. Thank you so much for doing the podcast.
Thank you.
And thanks. Oh, your dog is so well behaved.
She's asleep.
Yes.
She's asleep.
Hey, somebody's asleep on Sleeping with Sarah, so it's the dog. Well, we always end by saying good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks for listening to Sleeping with Sarah, where I slept with Charna Halpern and her dog, Violet. You can follow Charna on Twitter at Charna Halpern and go to ioimprov.com for more info on the IO Theater. This podcast is part of the Laugh Factory Podcast Network. Please remember to subscribe and rate and review on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. We're brought to you by Audible.com. Please go to audibletrial.com/sleepingwithsarah. I'm releasing a new podcast each week. Be sure to tune in to find out who I have in bed with me next. Thanks to Josh Bryant for the music. You can find out more on sleepingwithsarah.com. And please follow me on Twitter at Sarah Albritton. Until next time, good night.